named 50 Shades of Fear. I wanted to name it in a way that everyone can relate to this. And I thought, oh, okay, it could be like 50 Shades of Aid, only related to fear. The reason why I want to talk about this in this way is because I see, and I have seen in my own experience, that the main inner opponent or main obstacle because of which we don't make our transitioning successful, because of which we don't even commit to living our vision and our dreams and our lives. This is also the reason why we keep staying in the survival mode for far too long until we're suffering from illnesses. So, in other words, I understood 6 years ago when I was transitioning from my UN role, I realized if the only thing that's stopping me from going and doing the thing that I want to do while being with my loved ones is fear, then I need to be able to figure out what to do with it. Because I can't imagine living my life being constantly victim to my own fear. And today I want to talk about two types of fear, and I'm trying to simplify it so that you can really grasp this the way how you can look at your fear and also what to do about it, right? So the way that I have simplified so that it's very clear as to what you can do about it is there is the visible fear and there is the invisible fear. The visible fear is something that you can recognize, something that you know, because of which you are not doing the thing that you want to do. So example of this visible fear would be, I'm afraid of the judgment of my boss, therefore I'm not saying the truth of what I believe should be done, and instead I'm staying quiet in a meeting. That is the visible fear, meaning that you recognize it, you can see it, you can feel it, and you are choosing not to do the thing, choosing in the sense that you recognize that you are afraid of the consequences of the boss's reaction, and therefore you're not doing anything with it. Right? That's probably many people experience their work lives by recognizing that, okay, they may not like what I'm going to say, so I rather stay silent, right? And the same goes for misconduct, that other people bully you or other people are bullying others and you are witnessing it and you are afraid of the retaliation or things getting worse, therefore you not doing anything. That's the visible fear. So that's visible to you. Now, there is another type of fear that I think many people are not recognizing, or they're not even used to seeing it this way, is the invisible fear. Invisible fear is you may not even recognize as something like a fear because you just keep avoiding it. You just keep telling yourself how you're not good at it. You just keep telling yourself that you hate something, even though that's not really what's happening. It is the invisible fear protecting you from the unknown and protecting you from the discomfort. Right? So this is the invisible fear that is controlling your life, whether you recognize it or not. And I feel many people that are going through the transitioning, they're really having a lot of problem with that invisible fear. So they keep telling themselves that I hate networking, and therefore they don't even attempt to network in the way that could be authentic to them. They tell themselves, I hate doing sales, and therefore they are so worried as to how to do it, and to a point that they just avoid doing it, or they tell themselves that they're not good at having hard conversations with work colleagues at work, and therefore they keep avoiding having that conversation, and instead keep thinking about how this should have been this way and that way, and never actually going and doing the thing. You see, the invisible fear is the fear that is protecting you from experiencing discomfort, experiencing going into the unknown territory, right? So, as long as you keep staying in the known territory, even though you don't like it, your brain will say, that's okay, you are safe. But as soon as you go to the unknown territory, you are unsafe, or you will be unsafe. Therefore, your brain will automatically keep protecting you. And that's why we keep giving up on the vision. We keep giving up on doing the things the way we want to, because our status quo of how we used to doing things will keep winning us over, right? So as you can see, that there are fears that you can recognize, and there are fears that you cannot recognize, or you don't even know that this is what's happening, but it keeps secretly or in the background governing you against your own dreams and visions. Now, the by the way, the other example that I forgot to mention in the invisible fear, that's also very often and common, is when we keep postponing things, right? When we keep saying that we will do this when XYZ thing happens, or it's not the right time, whatever it is. So this is all the invisible fear. Now, let us look at what can be done about both the visible and the invisible fears. And with the visible fear, you probably had a lot of experience telling yourself that you can't be authentic at work, you can't be authentic in the networking experience, because you are afraid of what they're thinking, you are afraid of how they're judging you, you are afraid of what they might think if you approach them, right? So this is probably what you have experienced consciously a lot of the time. But what I also see my clients do is, once even they realize that this is what's happening, they just don't want to do anything with it, or they feel they don't know what to do about it, right? They don't know what to do about the visible fear that is stopping them from getting to the outcome they actually want to, which I call becoming the victim to our own fears. Now, if you see this, this is how I have overcome this many, many times. And the more you do this, the more great you get at it, because you also probably had experience in the past when you were going to work for UN or humanitarian sector. You probably had a lot of fears about starting something new, starting that you didn't know, working with people you didn't know, fearing of their judgments. You probably had that experience as well. But then, if anything, like you are like me, you probably also were so tired of not being able to tell the things the way they are, or tell the things the way that you see things should be done. You are so tired of it. And then at some point, because of being angry at yourself or the other people so many times, that you decided, okay, I'm going to say it because I cannot not say it anymore, right? You probably dealt with the fear in that way. But then the part that I have also learned how to deal with that visible fear is to start looking at how, as long as I keep fearing, okay, this person's going to judge me if I say something, and therefore let me not say it, as long as I keep staying in that I don't feel safe being judged by this person, as long as I stay in this, nothing will change. My behavior doesn't change, their behavior doesn't change, and I will keep being frustrated and struggling the whole time. And I didn't want to do that. So the way that I have solved that visible fear is to realize that I cannot keep controlling the other person's perception of me, whether I try to control them or whether I try to stay silent or whether I say something, right? And plus, if I keep staying in the how they will judge me, whether they will judge me, I will actually not learn how to say things in my authentic voice the way that I want to without wrecking relationships. So realizing that fear always makes you want to control other people's perceptions of you, realizing fear will want to make you control how other people sees you, and then realizing also that if you keep going by that logic, nothing will change because you can't control other people's perceptions. You can only control what you can and cannot say. This is how I solved my visible fears. Right? So I realized that my control of what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say is the only thing I can control. And how they will take it, how they will interpret it, misinterpret it, misunderstand is their thing. I can't do anything about it. So this is the part that I have been able to solve, the visible fear. Now let's talk about the invisible fear. The invisible fear, especially when I keep avoiding discomfort, when I keep avoiding the unknown, my brain wants me to believe that as long as you keep avoiding, you will be fine. Except that I have seen that as long as I keep avoiding, I keep getting sicker and sicker by burnout, by depression, because I'm not really living the life that I want to. Instead, I keep complying and obliging or keep obligations to the things that I don't even believe in. And that kept me getting even more sick to a point that I didn't want to live that life. So it was a lie that my fear was feeding me that says, as long as you keep avoiding the hard things or avoiding doing the things that you want to, that is coming from the unknown world, then you will be fine, is a myth. So then I started looking at, okay, in the past, when I worked for UN, I was ready to do whatever it takes to work for UN because I believed in the cause so much. I had such a compelling why as to why I want to do the work. And then I started asking myself, okay, why do I not have that compelling why when I want to live my own vision? Right? So why am I having the compelling why when I can work for the system and I can find all the different ways to convince myself and be convicted? But when it comes to my living my own vision, I'm just negotiating with myself as to whether I should do it or not, and all because of that invisible fear, which I'm calling it inner opponent. Do you know that when you constantly like want to do something and then there is an opponent inside that keeps stopping you, or maybe it's not even, it doesn't feel like an inner opponent, but it feels like an inner criticism, or even your interpretation of how the world is collapsing, how the world is not a safe place, or how other people will judge you if you do this, right? All of those, I call it inner opponent. And as long as I don't have that why as to why would I want to live my vision, the thing that I want to do, and most importantly, having that trust in myself that I can do this, these are the two ways that I have been able to solve that invisible fear stopping me. Right? So when I realized, okay, in order for me to be the freest version of myself, living the free life that I want to, doing whatever I want to, whenever I want to, from wherever I want to, in order to be able to live that life, that vision, I need to have that inner freedom, meaning that I need to be able to do something with my invisible fears that keep stopping me every step of the way. And most importantly, not only stopping me, but also preventing me from committing to implementing my vision. Then I realized, okay, the way that I can solve this is to know that the opposite of just keep living the life that I don't want to is worse than me going and actually making the vision happen. And plus, the only thing that it takes for me to be able to healthfully manage and maneuver that invisible fear is me trusting in myself that I'm the type of person who gets to live this vision the way I imagine. This is how I created inner freedom inside me to be able to live the life I want to. And once I realized that I can manage that fear, I can not only manage that fear, I can actually do so much with it without being a victim of this fear. Once I realized that, then the freedom was like, oh my God, I could live this way. I never knew this. It was as if like realizing, oh my God, you can fly. Right. And then realizing also that, okay, if I no longer need to battle with fear, and I no longer need to listen to fears and all the excuses that fear comes up with, then I can only keep listening to my vision of what I want to do and how I want to live my life. And that's how I have been able to make the money side of things work and all of this. And all thanks to me being able to know or learn about how my fears function, how my fears make me behave in ways that I like or I don't like. And most importantly, when I started looking at how I kept avoiding my own life, and the way that I used to avoid is by obviously going and putting myself into work the whole time, or going on mission the whole time, or holding on to privileges and titles and using them as a way to feel good about myself. Because otherwise, I didn't feel good and fulfilled about myself. So that's why when I stopped avoiding my life and I said, okay, I know now how I have been avoiding my own life, how I have been avoiding myself. And by solving the visible and the invisible fear, I started realizing how actually easy to live the vision that I had in my head. And that's exactly what I want for you. I want for you to be not only committing to your biggest, boldest dreams and make that happen, I want you to do that in a way that fear doesn't keep interfering every step of the way. It doesn't mean that we will not experience fear. It will just mean that we'll be so good at recognizing and knowing what to do exactly that it doesn't even become a problem anymore. It becomes like, oh, what is new? This is how it's supposed to happen. This is how my fear is supposed to come up. This is how I'm going to deal with it. This is how I trust myself to be able to have that vision and build that vision anyway. I know that I'm capable of. I know that I have everything what it takes. And let me go keep doing it, even though fear keeps acting out once in a while. And then we keep going. This is how we're able to commit to the things that we say are important to us. And in order for you to be able to do that, I would really love to support you to understand your fear, learn how not to be a victim of it, and most importantly, keep going and implementing the vision and living the vision, no matter how fear comes up with another excuse. And fear will come up with the most compelling excuses you can think of. And because I have worked on this for 6 years in the last 6 years, that I have gotten so good at detecting it. And not only, but I have gotten so good at detecting my clients' fears disguised as beautiful excuses, that I can help to do something with it instead of just listening to it and giving up, or listening to it and just keep going the safe way that you have always done, but that you no longer want to do. Okay, my dears. If you would like to do this together with me, you should join my Humanitarian Millionaires Mastermind. You've seen that it's official. I have 4 spots. I had 4 spots yesterday. I have 3 spots now. And I am stoked that there are already so many people who want to do this, because they also realize that I'm done surviving. I no longer want to do this. And I hear you. I want you no longer be surviving. And in order for us to do that, we need to start really getting grip of fear. Okay, my dears, I can't wait to talk to you.